What's up and welcome back. I appreciate y'all for tuning back in here to Pressure and Stability over at the Pressure Tested Global underscore TV channel. And today I want to talk to you about the three moves that allows you to lead yourself under pressure. First off, let's identify the fact that pressure is real, right? We go under this every single day, all of these different things that pop up, from issues at home to issues at work to health issues, and all of these things are real, and we try to compartmentalize these aspects of ourselves to isolate them so that way we can focus on the work. And I've been guilty in my own life of trying to do more and be better at doing more when what I really should have been doing was taking the time to improve myself. Because the more you improve yourself, the better you become, the better you are able to help things around you, just solely because you improved yourself. So you'll hear me talk about on this channel a lot the idea of efficiency. I really believe heavily in efficiency. I think that efficiency allows us to reduce the waste. Efficiency allows us to get the desired goal, task, or value benefit in a shorter amount of time than we would otherwise. And when we don't take the time to process what we're doing, we end up making short-sighted decisions that are oftentimes stemmed from being emotional or something like that, because we haven't set a filtration process in place to give us the raw data in the end, right? To get rid of all the noise, to shut down all the things that are clouding our judgment and really allow ourselves to get back into a space of clarity. And so I'll refer to clarity at sometimes as peace, because I think the two go hand in hand. And it's a matter of finding what works for you as the individual. And so today I'm going to give you three uh, moves that you can apply in real time when you feel pressure, whether that's light pressure, medium pressure, heavy pressure. It doesn't make a difference. I want you to apply these things. So move one is going to be breathe with intention. I want you to take the chance of slowing down, not even just physically, right? Take the chance of actually slowing down by taking the opportunity to focus on your breath. Slow your breathing. Even when everything else is speeding up, even when everything else is going fast, I want you to take the opportunity to allow yourself to breathe the correct way, right? Deep, deliberate breaths that put your body and your mind back in control over the situation instead of continuing to spiral. Don't just calm down. And I think that's a term that we hear a lot. Oh, just calm down. You need to take it easy. If it was that easy, it would just be done. But there are challenges that are in play that we have to address that a lot of us don't have the words for, but it doesn't mean that it's not real. And so instead of just calming down, you know, I want you to have the opportunity to reawaken yourself. Pressure is the lever and your breath becomes the reset. So it's important to breathe. One of the breathing techniques that I love to use is the 4-6 technique. And what that is you breathe in for 4 seconds and then you exhale for 6 seconds, right? And there are multiple different breathing techniques that you can apply. You can look it up, find something that works for you, but the 4-6 I actually like. And so it's just a matter of breathing in for 4 seconds and we'll go in, 2, 3, 4, and then we exhale for 6, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you can repeat this 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, right? As much as you need. It can even become a part of your natural breathing rhythm as you go throughout your day. I refer to that as walking meditation, right? It's just a matter of being deliberate about what I'm doing with my breath and having something that I can focus on. And so by taking those breaths, it allows our body to regulate itself. And then another one is a psychological sigh. I think I was listening to Dr. Huberman's podcast where he was talking about psychological sigh. And the psychological sigh is where you inhale for about 80% of your lung capacity, take a second deep inhale, and then you exhale to expel all of the toxins out of your body, right? The oxygen that hadn't been used or oxygen that had been converted, right? And so you just want to blow all that back out to allow yourself to get fresh oxygen back into your lungs again to flow throughout your body. So I really do like using those techniques when it comes to breathing. I use both of those in my system called the pressure code, which is really just a traffic signal. Red is recognize, yellow is yield to find clarity, and then green is go with intention. And so in the red phase, we're pausing to recognize what we feel, right? Are my palms sweaty? Are my thoughts racing? Is my heart rate elevated? Is my breathing shallow? Right? Asking yourself these very simple questions to allow us to become self-aware. A lot of you that may know me saw me originally starting the business out focused heavily on emotional intelligence. And then I realized it was far greater than just that. All of these things come together when we're dealing with pressure. And the idea behind emotional intelligence is to not only identify what you feel, how you feel, and then be able to do something with that in a constructive and a positive way, but to also identify that in other people. And if they're willing, help them manage and navigate through that. And so we'll talk a lot about that through our practice here at Pressure and Stability. And then a third technique that I like to use in the idea of breathe with intention space that we're talking about is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right. This is where you look around the room, and it's really great for present moment awareness. Where you're looking around to see 5 things that you could see, 4 things that you could touch. There are 3 things that you could feel, 2 things that you could smell, 1 thing that you could taste. Right. And you kind of go through this process just to allow us to regain focus. Right. And if we are stuck in a tunnel vision, to allow us to start bringing clarity in that so that way we can open back up and use our peripherals as well. So the second step that I want us to focus on when we talk about this process is to step back and see what's actually happening, right? What's the bigger picture? What's taking place, right? And so we start to transition into the yield phase of the pressure code process. And so this is whether mentally or physically, I want you to step away from the chaos. Maybe both if you can. Ask yourself, will this matter in a week? Will this matter in a month? Will this even matter in a year? Then you'll start to notice that pressure, as it increases, it will shrink your view. Your view on things become a lot smaller, and ultimately what's happening is we're starting to go from a calm state to where we start to be reactive to some degree by going into the fight, flight, or freeze. Okay. And, we're saying a lot of things around this to get to that, but I want to give you multiple different ways to kind of perceive this and look at it and then find out how to apply what could work for you in real time to put you in a position to be able to gain that control back over yourself and lead yourself under pressure effectively. Because as leaders, it's very important that we manage ourselves because other people are also looking at us into us. And then our tone sets the environment, even if it's not our words that causes everybody to go astray. It's the energy that we're putting out, right? It's the clutter in our own minds that allows us to make short-sighted decisions that keep us from making well-informed decisions. And it doesn't have to be perfect, right? I'm not saying that every decision needs to be a perfect decision. That's not what I'm getting at. What I'm getting at is that it's valuable to have a process in which we filter our decision making through. So that way, whether we're under pressure, whether we are exhausted, whether we are sharp, or whatever it may be, we run every decision through this filtration process, right? And by running it through this filtration process, in the end, it allows us to have a replicated result, a desired result, specifically, a replicated desired result. And so look at this in an aspect of like building roads, okay, or even a path. If you just walk into the woods, we call them game trails or animal trails. If you go in the woods, you can more than likely look down to the ground and you'll see where deer or other kind of wildlife have traveled frequently because that part will have, a little indentation due to the weight that has been constantly walking through that. Or if it's grass, you'll notice like that part of it is cut out. You know what I'm saying? And so that's kind of like a game trail, an animal trail. But why is that being used? Because it's the path of least resistance. You understand? By having a path of least resistance, you allow yourself to be more efficient, burning less energy, accomplishing the task still. But for some reason, a lot of times we don't take the pause to look at how are we operating. And that doesn't mean autopilot. That doesn't mean that you're on autopilot because you're efficient. The goal is to become efficient. And all tasks, all systems, everything that we do is not the desired outcome to have an inefficient system. And as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as a world leader, whatever it is, you have people that are looking to you and depending on you. And so with that alone comes tremendous weight. And so I don't think that we should take that lightly. I think that we are all living a journey. We are all going through whatever this experience that we're living, and we need to learn how to manage ourselves within the overall grand system. So when we step back and when we look at the bigger picture, we see that our decisions have a ripple effect that affect other people as well. And so sometimes what we do is we try to solve everything. Sometimes what we do is we try to be everything to everybody at all times. And that becomes a cognitive overload. And now we're still trying to be sharp while we have all of these competing interests in our mind. When we talk about the idea of multitasking, I don't believe we really are multitasking. I think that what's happening is we've built a system or a set of patterns that we operated in, that some of those things doesn't require as much cognitive effort as others, just because we've done it so much. But then when we really think about, what we're putting our attention on, that begins to shift, right? So even if we have built autonomy in our left arm to act a certain type of way, or in our right arm to act a certain type of way. And I think I've even saw a person, they were drawing with a left hand, right hand, and both feet, right? Different images, 4 different images, one person. And that comes with consistent practice, right? Building those neural pathways that allow us to accomplish that task without having to use as much effort. And then the more we repeat these things, the easier they come to us. It's like if we get in a car and we're driving home and we're tired, and then next thing you know, we're here and we're like, I don't remember a part of this trip. So the goal is to reduce the cognitive load. By reducing that cognitive load, it allows us to get further away from the flight, fight, flight, or freeze, the survival response. And it allows us the opportunity to be able to make well informed or better informed decisions, clear decisions. And so seeing the bigger picture, it really is going to give us clarity, and it's going to prevent us from being reactive to decisions and allow us to have the ability to choose with intention, and hopefully running those through a filtration process so that way we could repeat said given level of success or desired result. And so that's why you'll hear me frequently talk about systems on this channel, and that's what I'm referring to. Move 3 is to take one intentional step, right? So this is now where we transition to go down to green in the pressure code system, and take one intentional step. This is go with intention, right? So again, we started out at red, where we recognize what we feel, become self-aware, become present in the moment, allow us to then transition to yellow, where we yield for clarity. And whether we could physically step away or we just need to mentally create some space, then we need to do that. And it's ideal to do both. And so this concept can be utilized as simple as transitioning between meetings. Let's say you have a 5-minute window between one meeting to the next. You could use this pressure code framework to go through to allow yourself to gain clarity in real time in the real space that you're at. And so again, move 3 is take one intentional step. So don't try to solve everything at one time, right? They are there. Yes. It is there. Yes, this is true. But then this is where the decision bottleneck starts to build up in leaders, because for whatever reason, they want to manage all of the decisions. The decisions are best made at the closest level that they're taking action at, right? The closest level to the action, or closest to the ground. And I think by disseminating the decision authority to those levels, it speeds up the process, right? It allows things to become more efficient. And the fear I've found, and a lot of times, and a lot of different leaders that I've spoken with, is they don't, one, trust the people that they have in those positions, which is a problem in the first place, because why are they there if you don't trust them? 2, they don't trust themselves, which is a problem, because if you're the visionary or you're the one in charge and you're leading this process, people are going to lose trust and confidence in you when you're not clear on what you're doing, because now that creates a space of uncertainty, right? And it's difficult to follow somebody who's not certain of what they're doing. And so questions start to rise, all these things start to pop up. And so there has to be a system or a framework or a process that we can reflect back on and run our decision making things through. And so pick one action, right? I like to look at things in an 80-20 concept. What is the thing that I can do that is going to give me the greatest result towards my overall goal or desired outcome with the least amount of effort, right? And so it's like adding versus multiplying, or it's like walking versus driving a car, right? This is how we've evolved over time with transportation, and, to taking flight, to spaceships, all of these different things like that, right? And so what is the thing that I can do that's going to give me the most return with the least amount of effort? All right. So once you prioritize those things, look at them, right? Maybe select your top 2, top 3, and then that becomes the focus, and everything else can get disseminated to somebody else that can actually make those decisions. Or maybe all of those things weren't that important in the first place. Because sometimes when we start to identify these and we lay these things out, we'll see that we have some things that are competing interests. We'll have some things that are really the same, but we're labeling them different. Then we'll start to identify there are a bunch of things that just are unnecessary right now towards the overall desired goal. And so decision making becomes a lot quicker, it's a lot clearer, and usually that yields a lot better results in the long run. Right. So once you organize them, take an action, make a deliberate decision, and then execute. I find that leadership is showing up not only in moments where things are good, but then also having the opportunity of managing ourselves under pressure. So when we do show up, we can create an environment of calm and an environment of empowerment where people have the psychological safety that they're looking for in the workplace. Or even if this is not the workplace, maybe in your household or wherever it is. And so again, today we talked about the 3 moves to lead yourself under pressure. One being breathe with intention. And when we look at the pressure code framework, that would be red, which is to recognize. And the reason I keep turning back to this traffic signal is because I want it to become embedded as you start to go on this journey, and it becomes a subliminal cue as a trigger or as an anchor point for you subconsciously that you don't always have to think about it. But when you see it internally, your body is already going through those processes, right? You'll start noticing your system becomes a lot more regulated. You'll start noticing that you feel a lot more calm. You'll start to see the spikes of anxiety. You'll start to see the racing thoughts. You'll start to, feel when things are just not right over time by practicing this. And so in the Marine Corps, it's not our phrase, but a really good one, and I like it. It goes something like this: the more you sweat in training, the less you bleed in war. And I really love to apply that in almost everything that I do. Whatever you do, put your best effort into it. Don't just go into it expecting to walk away as a master on trial one. You've spent an entire lifetime operating a certain type of way, and then now you're intentionally working to build a new system in which you will operate. Or maybe you're refining the processes of a system that was already in place in order to become more efficient. But either way, that takes time, that takes work, that takes intentional effort. And so what's going to happen is our body is going to want to default back to the thing of convenience, the thing that is the least resistance, like the game trail in the woods. And so you'll see multiple animals walk that path, not just deer, not just bear or whatever. You'll see multiple animals walking down this path. And so even when you look at that as with us as human beings or as leaders, there are a bunch of different competing interests that we have in our lives. Okay. We have self, we have the responsibility of our families, if we have that. We have the responsibility of pets. We have the responsibility of those that we lead. We have the management of the vision. Are things in line with where we said we need to be? Where are we falling off, right? The pressures and the demands of maybe your team, maybe the community. There are a lot of different weights that are associated with those that carry the title of leader. And I really believe that there's a leader in every last one of us. My belief is that leaders are born and then are developed and realized. That's what I believe. And so, but our positions of leadership just looks different for every last one of us. Every last one of us, it looks different. And so, in the foundation of this company, I had to take myself back to apply the very same thing that I now teach. What is the system? What is a framework that I'm going to filter my decisions through? What is my decision filtration process? And when I was in a calm state, I created a space of peace, a space of calm, a space without interruption, right? No phones, no electronics, no technology. For me, that looks like going to the woods, sitting by a stream, sitting by the lake, or whatever that may be. Right? That's my process. But find yourself a process to where you can silence the noise, where you could just be and allow yourself not to judge your thoughts, but to just observe them. Let them flow naturally. Observe them. Let them come, let them go, let them pass. And then the clarity that you seek, you will find. I remember listening to another guy talk about if you give yourself 60 minutes to just sit in silence, not a computer, not a phone, not writing anything, just sitting completely still and just observing for 60 seconds or for 60 minutes. The thing that you're trying to find an answer for will come to you. So it's not that the answers are not there. It's just that we're so busy. We're so consumed by the noise that we are missing the very thing that we're looking for. And this is where the time delay comes into play. And so if you made it this far in the show today, I want to say thank you. And I decided after talking to my brother the other day, I've been creating some music that ties into pressure and stability. And it really resonates with me. And today, the song that we're going to close out with is going to be called Artificial Intelligence. You know, the idea that there are so many things that are trying to gain our attention and trying to pull us off course. It's up to us to recognize it for what it is, artificial intelligence, artificial lights, excuse me. And even for some, artificial intelligence is a distraction. So figure out what your process is. Put all the tools in their proper place and then apply the tool. When I was going to rappel training, I was strapping up with my belt. You know, I got clicked up to the rope. I climbed this tower that was about 50 feet, 40 feet, whatever it was. And then I remember the rappel instructor saying, okay, turn around. All right, walk backwards to the edge. And I remember getting to the edge and I'm holding on to this freaking rope. And he was like, lean back. And then naturally, I turned around to look back and I saw the distance from where I was to the ground. And I was like, oh, snap. You know, I had this moment of pause in my body where I questioned it. And when I questioned it, I turned back around and I looked at him. He's like, just trust the tool. You've done everything you can up until this point. Now it's no longer up to you. That's what the tool is for. Trust the tool. And I remember letting go and leaning back. And of course, the tool caught my weight. It took off all the pressure that I was applying on myself, all of the mental blocks that were being created. And I just dangled there on the side of this wall. And immediately, the moment that I decided to let go and trust the system, I found so much peace. And so today's closing out song is Artificial Lights. I hope you enjoy.
Artificial lights look good from far away. Everybody shining till you see the fraying edges. Scroll another story, perfect on the screen, but you never see the doubt in the spaces in between. From certain angles, things aren't always what they're seeming. Don't let a glare become your gospel. Bright lights sometimes are distractions. Pull you off the road you're paving. Your lane is your lane. Keep driving. Learn to really see, not just the pain. I caught my own reflection, called it someone else. Blame the whole world for the mirror on the shelf. Now I watch my thinking like traffic at night. Red, green, yellow, just signals in my mind. Artificial lights, they're lying. They're only bright from certain angles. Things aren't always what they're seeming. Don't let a glare become your gospel. Bright lights sometimes are distractions. Pull you off the road you're paving. Your lane is your lane. Keep driving. Learn to really see, not just the painting. Slow down the rush. Take a breath before belief. Is it truth or just a filter? You were taught to never leave. Yeah. Watch it all.